She was never temporary to me. I met my daughter when she was 3 years old. She wasn't mine by blood, she wasn't mine by paperwork, but from the first night she fell asleep on my shoulder, she was mine in every way that mattered. My father and I married young. He already had her from a relationship that ended badly, and her mother wasn't in the picture. When we built our life together, she came with it, not as an obligation, but as a gift. I learned how to braid her hair. I learned which foods she hated and which songs made her laugh. When she started calling me mom without being prompted, I cried in the bathroom so no one would see. When her father died suddenly, everything shattered, but one thing never changed. I stayed. I didn't have to. No one would have blamed me if I'd stepped away, but the thought never even crossed my mind. I legally adopted her within a year. I promised her and myself that she would never feel like someone who was merely left behind. Years later, I met my fiancé. He knew my history. He knew my daughter wasn't biologically mine. He told me repeatedly that he admired how fiercely I loved her. He said he wanted to adopt her one day too, that he didn't see her as anything less than family. I believed him. When I became pregnant, everyone was happy. My daughter was especially excited. She talked to my stomach. She picked out names. She told her friends she was finally going to be a big sister. I thought our family was growing, not changing. The truth came out during a dinner with friends. Someone asked about our future plans, about travel, about whether we'd do something special once the baby arrived. Casually, someone mentioned taking a family trip after the wedding. That's when my fiancé laughed and said, "Well, now that we'll have our real child, we don't have to keep pretending." The room went quiet. I didn't understand what he meant at first. I honestly thought I'd misheard him. But then he kept talking about how things would be simpler now, how priorities shift once your own blood is involved, how my daughter had already had her chance at a family. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't insult her directly, he said it all calmly, like it was common sense. That was the moment I realized something terrifying. He had never truly seen her as permanent. In his mind, she was a placeholder, a kindness, something I did before my real life began. I told him the wedding was off before he even finished explaining himself. He tried to walk it back, said he was stressed, said I was overreacting, said after the baby arrived, things would naturally sort themselves out. But I couldn't unhear what he'd said, because love doesn't downgrade a child once a biological one arrives, and I will never raise a daughter who grows up believing she was temporary. When I told my daughter what happened, she didn't get angry. She asked me quietly, "Did I do something wrong?" That question broke something in me I'll never fully repair. I held her and told her the truth, that adults sometimes reveal who they are too late, and that none of this had anything to do with her worth. She nodded, but I could see the damage had already been done. I agreed to meet my fiancé one last time, in public. He begged. He said he didn't mean it that way. He said he loved her enough. Then, as if honesty no longer mattered, he told me the truth. He had been cheating, not once, not briefly, with someone we both knew, someone who smiled at my daughter, someone who attended that dinner. In that moment, everything aligned. The cruelty, the entitlement, the way he suddenly divided love into categories. I walked away. I changed the locks. I blocked him everywhere. My daughter and I are rebuilding quietly. She's in therapy. I'm learning how to be pregnant and grieving at the same time. I still believe in family. I chose her anyway. I always will. I can co-parent with the man who fathered my unborn child. I can rebuild a life. I can start over. What I will never tolerate is someone teaching my daughter that love has a hierarchy and that she somehow falls below it. She was never temporary to me, and anyone who sees her less doesn't get to stay.
Sometimes the most painful betrayal isn't cruelty, it's discovering that the understanding you trusted was never real to begin with.
I never pretended my life came with no history. When I met Lena, my daughter Maya was already 9. Her mother and I had separated years before. Not angrily, not dramatically, just two people who realized love had changed shape. Maya lived with me most of the time. She was not a complication. She was the center of my days. Lena knew this when we met, or at least she said she did. She laughed easily around Maya, asked about school, remembered her favorite snacks. Nothing felt forced, nothing felt wrong. For 5 years, our lives blended smoothly until the wedding plans began. At first, it was harmless. Venues, colors, dates. Lena loved details. Her mother, Marjorie, loved control. I stayed quiet, assuming it was temporary chaos. Then, one evening, Lena showed me the seating chart. I scanned it slowly. I didn't see Maya's name anywhere. "Where does Maya sit?" I asked. Lena paused. "I thought she could just sit with your sister." That answer sat wrong in my chest. "She's my daughter," I said. Marjorie, who had been listening silently, finally spoke. "Weddings aren't about children," she said calmly. "They're about starting fresh." I didn't respond then, but something cracked. Over the next few weeks, the exclusions multiplied. Maya wouldn't be in the ceremony, not in the photos, not part of the planning. "It's simpler this way," Lena said. "She already has a mother." I started seeing the pattern too late. The night everything ended wasn't dramatic. No shouting, no slammed doors, just honesty. I asked Lena directly, "What do you expect our life to look like after the wedding?" She hesitated. Then she said it. "I thought Maya might start spending more time with her mom. Holidays, maybe. Visits." Visits. As if she were a guest. "And the wedding photos?" I asked. "I didn't want reminders," she said softly, "of something that doesn't belong to our future." That was the line, the one you don't uncross. I took off the ring and placed it on the table between us. "There will be no wedding," I said, "and you'll need to move out." She cried. Her mother called me irrational, selfish, accused me of choosing a child over a marriage. She was right. That night, Maya asked if the wedding was canceled. "Yes," I said. She looked scared. Did I do something wrong? I knelt down and told her the truth. "No, you are the reason I did something right." It's easy to seem understanding when nothing is demanded of you. The real test comes when love requires sacrifice. That's when the mask falls. They told me to just eat salad. I'm vegetarian, not as a trend, not as a phase. I've been vegetarian for more than 10 years. My fiancé knew that. His family knew that too. When we started planning our wedding, I asked for one simple thing, a vegetarian option. Just for me, not for every guest, not to change the entire menu, just one meal that I could eat at my own wedding. At first, he agreed. He told me it wouldn't be a problem. Then his mother got involved. A week later, he told me the caterer had been updated. The vegetarian option was gone. I thought there was a mistake, so I asked him to explain. He said his mom didn't like the idea. She thought it was unnecessary. I asked him what I was supposed to eat. He laughed and said, "You can just eat salad." I waited. I thought he would realize how wrong that sounded. He didn't. I told him this wasn't about food. It was about being considered. He told me I was overreacting. Later that night, his mother called me. She said the wedding wasn't about me alone. She said the guests mattered more. Tradition mattered more. And then she said it again, "Just eat salad." That was the moment everything became clear. This wasn't about vegetables. It was about how easily my needs were dismissed, how comfortable they were telling me to accept less. I asked him one last time to stand up for me. He didn't argue, he didn't defend me. He said, "I don't want to fight my mom over food." So I stopped fighting too. I canceled the wedding. Not because of the menu, but because I realized I was marrying into a family where my voice would always come last. Now, when people ask why it ended, I tell them the truth. They didn't think I deserved a proper meal at my own wedding, and I decided I deserved better than that.